Looking out at this room full of so many who did so much for me, I'm also reminded of what Lincoln once said to a favor seeker who claimed it was his efforts that made the difference in the election. Lincoln asked him, "So you think you made me president?" "Yes," the man replied. "Under Providence, I think I did." "Well," said Lincoln, "it's a pretty mess you've got me into. But I forgive you."
Well, President Obama has made no secret of his admiration and feelings for the 16th President of the United States. He cites Lincoln's speeches, was sworn in on Lincoln's own Bible, and by his bedside, it's a pretty good bet that right now there's our next guest's new book, The Fiery Trial, Abraham Lincoln and American Slavery. What connects the two presidents' approaches to leadership? And is Obama's an overly generous read of the legacy of President Lincoln? The great emancipator, it's not quite so simple. We welcome Eric Foner, author of The Fiery Trial. He's DeWitt Clinton Professor of American History at Columbia University and a member of The Nation magazine's editorial board. Eric, welcome back to the program.
Always delightful to be here.
I guess he would have to have an advance copy if he's really going to have it by his bedside, but maybe he has one. It comes out next week.
Well, I hope he does. Maybe I should put one in the mail to him. This is an inspiration.
Well,
I think
there you go.
But he's pretty busy, I guess, right now.
Oh, I never too busy for a book about Lincoln, I reckon, in terms of Barack Obama, who really, I mean, he couldn't have made his connection with Lincoln more strongly in the campaign and since he took office. Is he wrong in his admiration for the man?
Well, no, he's not. Lincoln is a man who deserves great admiration. He wasn't perfect. No human being is. He had many flaws. But I think Obama, of course, being from Illinois, like Lincoln, that's one connection. But I think maybe a more important one is that both Lincoln and Obama rose to national prominence through oratory, through speeches. Lincoln didn't hold any public office from 1849, when he ended his one term in Congress, until he was elected president. Obama, was in the U.S. Senate for a bit, but we don't really associate him with any major legislation. It was through speeches that the two of them became national figures, speeches of eloquence, of power, where they outlined a new vision for the country in different circumstances and different times. But in that way, I think they are connected.
While you've taken us to that point, let's play another clip from the speech there at the Bicentennial from Springfield, Illinois, where he's talking about the parallel views that they had of government, really, and the role of government acting in one voice. Take a look.
Such knee-jerk disdain for government, this constant rejection of any common endeavor, cannot rebuild our levees or our roads or our bridges. It can't refurbish our schools or modernize our healthcare system. It can't lead to the next medical discovery or yield the research and technology that will spark a clean energy economy. Only a nation can do those things. Only by coming together, all of us, in union and expressing that sense of shared sacrifice and responsibility for ourselves, yes, but also for one another, can we do the work that must be done in this country.
I mean, Obama clearly taking office in a fraught time, a time of great division. That's the obvious connection to Lincoln, but how else are the contexts comparable?
Just that little clip makes me feel sad in a way, because I haven't heard Obama address these questions with such directness and power lately. He seems to have somehow lost his ability or desire to be out there really promoting a vision of what government and the society pulling together can do, But anyway, Lincoln was also a great believer in the power of government. He was a member of the Whig Party, which never won, generally speaking, but it believed in what we'd call infrastructure, the government building canals and railroads, the government promoting education. Lincoln didn't believe government should just sit by the sidelines and let people, just run amok the way many political figures today seem to say. Obviously, as you say, they both came into office in times of crisis, Lincoln in a far greater crisis for the nation itself. And they both articulated visions of where the country ought to be going. But the thing about Lincoln is, now, Obama's only been in office for 2 years, even less. We don't know where his presidency will really end up. But Lincoln had this tremendous capacity for change, for growth, for learning. He was open-minded. He listened to critics. When one policy didn't work, he didn't just stick with it. He changed on slavery. He completely changed. He was not an advocate of immediate emancipation until 2 years into the Civil War. So I think that's one of the things Obama might want to learn from Lincoln.
Lincoln's also written about in your book, and others have written about this too. He was also a practicer of the art of the possible, and many would say he shied away from making the kinds of changes during Reconstruction and commitment to real change that was needed for this country to get over the legacy of slavery. He was a politician. He did understand the art of the possible, but he also understood something Obama doesn't seem to have quite grasped in office, although earlier, as a community organizer, he certainly did, that the people who are demanding the impossible are the ones who make the possible possible. In other words, Lincoln was not an abolitionist, but he listened to abolitionists. He met with them. They were far in advance of him on issues like racial equality, immediate abolition, but Lincoln understood that they were, in a sense, going in the same direction, even though at different rates. Whereas I don't see Obama having in the White House his critics from the left. I don't see Worse than that, you talked about where is the fiery oratory from Obama. Most often these days it seems to come from him and his spokespeople when it's directed at critics from the left.
Exactly. Lincoln was annoyed when abolitionists criticized him, radical Republicans, but he understood that they were all in the same endeavor. And everything that we associate with Lincoln, every major, on the issue of slavery, which is what I write about, whether it's immediate emancipation, arming black soldiers, a constitutional amendment to finally abolish slavery, giving the right to vote to some black men in the South, which he advocated toward the end of his life. Lincoln never advocated those views until midway in the Civil War. Every single one of those were put forward first by abolitionists. In other words, Lincoln is willing to listen to his critics on what we would call the left today and change, whereas Obama seems to be more concerned with placating his critics on the other end.
One of the subjects at the heart of your book and your scholarship in many ways is the question of what makes a good leader, not who so much as what may be team of people. The Nation magazine has a brand new list at its website, the 50 most important progressives of the 20th century, and they go out of their way to say it's not a comprehensive list. They want input. We want to encourage you folks, if you're interested, to go to thenation.com and make your own suggestions. But what did you make of the list so far?
I kind of like that list. I've seen it. I'm actually going to use it next year in class when I teach every once in a while a course on the history of American radicalism. I think it's valuable for readers of the Nation, and indeed everybody, to have a sense of history and of who came before us. However you define the left, liberal, activist, it's important to know that there is a great tradition in this country of activists of one kind or another. That list starts with Eugene Debs, the great socialist labor leader of the early 20th century, some of the others, Jane Addams, and it goes all the way up to the present. It includes a lot of people who are quite well known and a lot of people who aren't. Very few people today know about Ella Baker, for example, who was critical in the organization at the grassroots of the civil rights movement. Everyone thinks, well, Martin Luther King was the civil rights movement. Well, he wasn't the whole civil rights movement all by himself. It's an interesting and perhaps sad commentary that the last 5 people, the current 5 people on the list, are 2 sports figures, Muhammad Ali and Billie Jean King, and 3 people in the media, Michael Moore, Barbara Ehrenreich, and someone else I can't remember. But the point is, that's fine. I admire all of those people, but it's a sign of the decline of other kinds of activism, like labor activism, et cetera, that today people who are considered activists are in these other realms.
What do you make of the activism that's happening on the right? And in these last weeks before the midterms, well, I guess I'm looking for help. We've had one activist after another come in here since the election of Barack Obama and say, we're going to keep his feet to the fire, we're going to keep him honest, we're going to stay engaged. I'm not so sure they're going to be there on election day.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a political pundit. I'm a scholar of the 19th century. I know what I read in the newspapers, but it does seem there is a sense of being dispirited or disappointed among the people on the left, whereas the right, as you say, is very galvanized. I think partly this is because there were unrealistic expectations when Obama came in, so much hope for so much change all at once, and that is pretty impossible. On the other hand, of course, Obama has compromised many issues of great concern to people on the left, whether it was, public option or labor law reform, attacking unemployment, So I think, we do have to keep his feet to the fire, and, they did that with Lincoln. That's my point. The abolitionists, the radical Republicans, kept Lincoln's feet to the fire, but he didn't mind it. He appreciated the necessity for that kind of dialogue in the public realm.
The Fiery Trial, Abraham Lincoln and American Slavery, and the list of the 50 is at The Nation. You can get more information at thenation.com.